Okay. Uh, I don't know why I'm wasting my time doing this. It would be a bigger waste of my time trying to type it out. So I'm just going to blow through it as quick as I can by speaking. If you don't want to watch the video, don't watch it. I don't care. But I need to set the record straight. Like, just stick to facts, statistics, numbers, and what the original post was supposed to be about. It was about deportations and the violence that's occurring at these ICE facilities by Antifa, whatever these, you know, yeah, I don't want to say anything disparaging. That they need help. They're sick people. And they're encouraged by people who should know better and also financed by people who should know better. But getting back to deportations, let me explain to you how this works, okay? We'll just go back to 2020, okay? Because it became a catastrophe at that point. Yes, our immigration system is broken. It's been broken since the 40s, the end of World War II, right? So we'll go to 2020. 10 million were allowed in. How did they get in, right? Well, before 2020, Trump tried because what they do is they apply for asylum. Anyone can apply for asylum, and then they get an NTA, a notice to appear in an immigration court. And what Trump did was he said, "Well, okay, we'll give you your due process, but you got to remain in Mexico." Well, that all changed in 2020, and they were given an NTA. They were processed at a border patrol processing center, and these were the rules that they were told they have to follow if they're going to get their day in court. So these 10 million people, roughly, were processed, right? Fingerprinted, all that crap. And supposedly they were all supposed to get an NTA. Now, I don't know if you know anything about the courts and legal and all that shit. It takes time to type out to submit the paperwork. You can do it online, but it's very time consuming. So what CBP was doing was breaking their own rule because they didn't have the manpower of the time to actually issue the NTAs. So they were basically just cutting them loose, telling them to report to a ERO in their city, enforcement removal operations, and the immigration court. Generally speaking, depending on the location, they're more or less located in the same a federal building. So yeah, even on the best day, most of these people that were cut loose at the border, the NTA they received was like years out, right? Now, there's a game called Beat the Clock, right? Now, the game that's played by these people is to make it 5 years without a immigration judge issuing a final order for your removal, right? You got 5 years. And if you've been in this country for 5 years, you've been working, you haven't broken any laws, especially felonies, you haven't committed any felonies, you're not beating up your wife, you're not drunk driving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which a lot of them do. They can't even go 5 years without getting arrested, right? That's who Biden led into the country. These are the worst of the worst. These are not, I know, my own experience, okay, take it from me. When I retire, I'll be able to tell you in greater detail, but I can't do that now. But I'm telling you, so they get in, the idea is to play Beat the Clock, 5 years. In that 5 years, you can find yourself an American citizen to marry. A lot of them were having anchor babies. I know Trump's trying to stop that nonsense. But ultimately, if you make it 5 years with clean record and you're working, because they get issued a work authorization card, and yeah, they can pretty much apply for a green card after 5 years. A lot of people don't know this. As long as they were processed and encountered by the Border Patrol when they entered the country. For those who just snuck across, were never encountered, they're here, we don't know who they are. It's a whole different ballgame for them, okay? But we're only talking about the 10 million that ostensibly were supposed to be issued NTAs, and many of them weren't. They were just let into the country, they applied for asylum, whatever, you know. And so what happens, let's take the average case, right? So you'll get, let's say, I'm going to stick to easy numbers, like 10 Guats, right? Guatemalans, right? Can't speak English, can't even speak Spanish, a lot of them can't read and write in any language because they're they come from tribes in Guatemala. So they come in the country with no skills. And if they are issued a work authorization card while they're waiting for their due process in immigration court, they actually take a job away from another, like, immigrant, whether legal or illegal, because the wages were driven down, like, dramatically. So Biden actually hurt the lowest people on our social income status. So that's one social disaster that was created. But a lot of them don't work, especially the females. They just get knocked up and they go on welfare. And that's, they're making more money than a person working, right? Again, I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to stick to the facts. So how does the deportation work? Okay, so they get their day in court. The immigration judge says, no, right? You got to go home. They get to appeal it. Again, this is beat the clock. So with a little luck, they get an appeal date, roughly the appeal usually occurs within a year. But here's a game they play. They wait couple weeks before they're supposed to appear, let's say in Newark, and they arbitrarily just move to another state. It could be Philadelphia. They actually have to be issued a new NTA when they get to Philadelphia. So this, again, now they're going to be put to the back of the line on that docket. So the idea is to make it that 5 years, right? This is the game they all play. But let's say they do, they play beat the clock all they want, but they end up having to go to their appeal. The judge gives a final order, okay? This is an immigration judge. Most of them are liberals, okay? I'll just leave it at that. So if an immigration judge tells you that's it, you got to go home, you got to go home. Now, they give them the option, and most of them just walk. They want to give them time to sell their car. You got loose ends to tie up. We understand that. So you give them like a month. So, they walk out of the courtroom and they just walk out and then don't leave, right? Until they get arrested. And then there's another whole legal process they get to go through. So it's very hard to remove people, believe it or not. Now, because of the mess Biden created, once a final order, there's only two reasons why ICE is going to go out on the street to get somebody, go to a place of employment, an apartment, a courthouse, is because the scumbag that's in there is so bad and he refuses to go home, and they have no other choice but to go get him. He has a final order to leave. He won't leave, so ICE has to go get him, right? That's it. The other case, of course, is they're still in legal immigration court proceedings. However, they've committed felonies while they were, in proceedings. They have to be removed as well. I mean, you're raping people, you're selling drugs, trafficking, human trafficking. You got to go. No more. We're not putting up with this shit with you. And those are the two people ICE goes to get. So this balderdash that people are injecting into this conversation about like American citizens who've been detained. I mean, these are such isolated incidents that they don't even want. They're irrelevant to the discussion. Okay, and I bet you dollars to donuts that there are there's reasons why that occurred. They were either, helping the illegal or they were doing something. They had an illegal in their car when they got pulled over. There was something, okay? ICE just doesn't pull people over or they have a final order. They actually have a legal document from an immigration judge. Again, these people are liberals. They do everything they can. They bend over backwards to help these people. But most of them are just fucking human garbage, and they have to go home. Okay, they're not here to do good. Okay, they're here to sell drugs. They're here to live off welfare. This is the truth. And when you just let 10 million, at least 80% of them are just garbage, right? I mean, yeah, you're going to find a few that are decent, right? They really, really want to take advantage of the American dream. And, unfortunately, when you have a political party that creates such a catastrophe, unfortunately, a lot of good people do get fucking sucked up, right? Like people we really don't. I mean, we're legally obligated to remove them, but again, these judges, they do everything they can to help them, right? So yeah, that's it. So, and then getting to the Antifa, well, this is just complete fucking criminal behavior. This is anyone who defends them or comes up with a reason, like they don't need a reason to commit violence. They're losers. They're psychotic. They're on fucking every kind of drug imaginable, whether prescribed or otherwise. They have no future. And this is what they do. They're cowards. So, anyone who yes, there are, I've studied mob behavior. There's a great book called Among the Thugs. I think the author's name was Laban, about mob violence and how it occurs. But these Antifa, they actually, they're an organized mob. This isn't just a spontaneous thing that happens like a riot. They organize this. And, there's no moral fucking argument can be made for their behavior. Okay, none. So, yeah, stick to the original points that were made in the OP by Brad. I mean, stop injecting all this nonsense into the conversation because it just shows you, in my perception, you're being dishonest about this catastrophe that was created by Joe Biden, Mayorkas, and the rest of the communist pigs that are the Democrat Party now. I mean, you don't even have to you don't even have to say it. Just call them Democrats, right? They're not liberals. I'm not using the word progressive, and I don't need to call them communists because that's what they are. I mean, look at New York City. Hello. I mean, that mayor, he's not an outlier. He's not like some fringe lunatic of the Democrat Party that they try to hide. He's it. He is the representative of who and what they are. Okay. So again, that's all I wanted to say. I hope I clarified, some things. Everything I've said is true. And again, once I retire, I'll be able to give far greater specific details.